All right, everyone, I'm going to jump in, and I'm excited about all the incredible things that are going on in this conference. It's really a time of celebration. The Congressional Black Caucus has never been larger. It has never been more influential in American politics. And it's this idea with the Black community in particular that it shouldn't be about us without us. And many of you know that when the Civil War was fought, aftermath, there was a view of where our nation would go there, but we had a tremendous setback. And when Reconstruction fell, Lincoln was assassinated, and a reign of terror went across the South. There were actually Black senators and Black congresspeople, and the last one was a Congressman White, who amazingly gave a final speech on the Senate floor called the Phoenix Speech, around 1900, 1901, and he said that because of the terror of the South, the erosion of political power, disenfranchisement of African Americans, Blacks are now leaving Congress. But he predicted that like the phoenix rising from the ashes, Blacks would return. Now, amazingly, Blacks did return decades, generations later, thanks to a revolution, civil rights revolution, that returned power back to the people, and in this case, in particular, African Americans, and you started seeing Blacks return. It would take more than a century for there to be another Black congressperson from North Carolina where White was from. It actually was one of the first votes I had in the Senate for this congressperson who in the 90s returned. But I want everybody to know this in the historical context that every movement for social justice, Blacks have been at the center of. And so here we are gathered together with a unique understanding is that this next revolution we're going to see in humanity will be a technological revolution. This is going to be an extraordinary change, and it can't be about us without us. AI is going to touch every community on the planet Earth, every aspect of our nation, from our healthcare to our education to energy, to even the way that government does business is going to be affected by AI. And so if you are not at the table, you might end up on the menu. But more importantly, AI at its best can have an incredible democratizing ability for our society, further leveling playing fields, further opening up advantage. And that's why I am extraordinarily excited that we have the director here for the first part of our panel. We know that there is an opportunity to harness technology, and I'm excited to dive into some of these issues and more with Director Baraka. Now, Director Baraka leads the White House Office on Science and Technology. She literally, the president saw her as such important leadership. She is a member of the president's cabinet. This is really extraordinary to have a cabinet member here today to spend time in introducing this issue and having a bit of a discussion. Now, what's amazing about her is she and I have a lot in common. We both have degrees in science. She has a degree as an engineer, a physicist by training. My science degree is in that area of political science. She served as the director of DARPA, an area of our military where extraordinary innovation is happening, the director of NIST, and she has been an executive in the private sector and understands the urgency this is facing for all sectors of our society. But as President Biden's chief advisor on AI issues, she and her team have been busy since President Biden and Vice President Harris took office. This is an administration that's published the AI Bill of Rights. It's an administration that's helped to secure important voluntary commitments from industry, AI companies, not just to manage risk, but to try to organize us to have this be the nation, Team America, that seizes the opportunity. And I'm proud that she is right now on this global revolution, probably one of the best situated people to shape the future so there's a future that is inclusive in terms of people and expansive in terms of opportunity. We have limited time, so I'm going to jump right in and move over there, but I'm going to move over there as I ask this question. First of all, thank you. And secondly is, as you look at the horizons of unfold potential about AI, what excites you the most, and then also what concerns you that might keep you up at night?
Wow, that was,
Is your microphone not loud enough?
It's not on.
Can anybody help us with the microphone? Turn up the volume a little bit.
Okay, got me now?
I'm going to have you take this one.
How's this? Good?
A little better.
Okay. First and foremost, I think what is the story of horizon. This is the journey. We have a lot more work to do. Participate across our society. So what keeps me up? What makes me hopeful?
Yes.
The exact powers and the AI is what is the first of all is why. So it's already in our rules. That what that means is that you to build a future and that
And those values, which we articulate as a country, don't always get it right. But it is a threat that China right now, racing other regimes, they want to use it to oppress human freedom as opposed to expand.
absolutely that
We have, I'm so happy Burroughs is here for work on the CBC and other things. Really important. We're going to talk about this. But I want you to touch on this for the audience, which is as the technology expands, I've seen systems, from healthcare systems, criminal justice systems, which African Americans are profoundly left with systemic racism, where they have this darker impact than not. But at the same time, there's a lot of upside. Imagine now if there's educational connectivity, you can have a machine learning that can learn your learning style. You don't all learn the same way. So just the fact that every child now can have the most sophisticated tutor that can understand them, help them learn how to listen in a way that other people might learn. That's exciting in terms of expanding opportunity to use our different things like that. How do we, from a policy perspective, think about control for the African American community has every right to be cynical? System after system in our society seems to have a disparate impact on African Americans. How do you control for the things we're cynical about, but also expand the things that offer promise to level?
So I think this is really think about this notion the idea. So, you know, especially what is happening is this chance to well, it's pretty easy to grab and so this is it. And that's exactly what sure. Whether it's what a hospital, these are all basic. And then, so how are we going to do all these? No, these two they are when those
And so just so some of the people here, and I know there's probably different levels of understanding of how the technology works, but just think about this. They're training these big models, massive amounts of data, scraping the internet, scraping platforms, so things like Reddit or Wikipedia, bringing all of this information in. And now that information has biases baked in it that can have profound effects on everything from ranking resumes to the medical care that people are being recommended for. And I'll give you an example. I was at a fancy conference this summer where I flew coach commercial with private jets lining up, and somebody was debuting a big AI platform. And so me and the incredible woman I was rolling with, we just decided to ask two queries of questions. So I queried questions. They were showing images. Show me a picture of a leader, white male. Show me a picture of a business person, white male. Show me a picture of someone really smart, white male. And so this, I turned to the builder of this platform, and they said, well, this is just we need a red team. And so, I mean, that has a very dystopian potential. So you're now thinking about, well, how can we have policy to protect against this? I'm hoping you can tell people, because we hear about bills of rights, but you actually have, for the White House to get the AI bill of rights. What does that mean? What's in that?
I want to go right there. I just want another and this so I just want to balance and I think it's a great story that you discussed. I just can't. For those of you who've never
This was not the Deaf Comedy Jam.
and really excited. This is amazing.
What is blackface?
It's a group out of Tulsa. It's a group that Black folks involved they put together some kids to this competition. And what this competition is about, people want to ask, what if you said your job is and you think about this is so you better make sure that all of this sounds and that is
Make it really practical for everybody. You don't want a AI that now knows how to build biological weapons. Somebody asks those questions, you don't want it to close it, or how to make some kind of fentanyl, or you don't want them to be able to say, I'm feeling really sad, I'm thinking about killing myself. What's the most effective way? This technology can down really dark places, and for even opening those doors, right?
we all agree. Nobody else.
Yes, please, because this administration is blowing me away about how, no, seriously, before even everybody was talking about AI, you already were working on trying to navigate a policy.
Yeah, and I will start. This starts. I showed up. Find out terrible. Obviously, this administration. You have got to know that that's safe, it's secure, it does not discriminate. It doesn't exacerbate the destruction. And these are some of the things that are found. There's all the rest of the work. So that was very important. A lot of them. The next step was we had huge conversations because instead of writing these offices, we talked industry, we talked all the things we say first, so as asked, the president the vice president, just imagine vice president said not just in these examples, that's
Right. So, and I think in terms of microphone, and I know this is where we're supposed to end, but I want to ask Steve Brown, and I'm going to jump out here to make sure you're yelling at me. So I want to address the fears that I have in my community right now. I live in Newark, New Jersey, and my kid, I got a loop, I'm glad about it. Brick City in the House representing. So your communities are struggling for environmental justice, struggling for economic justice, struggling against the district enforcement of drug laws, a lot of challenges. People want their kids to be ready for the 21st century jobs. And we know there's going to be a lot of job displacement as a result. I've seen, I think Golden had a projection that corporate profits are going to increase 30% over a short period of time because of AI, which might mean that their labor costs are going dramatically down because they're eliminating jobs. And so as the White House looks out to the future, as another era of technological, potentially job displacement, what is your hope for communities right now are struggling as it is to get ready for the economy that can be?
What I would say is, number one, show up for that transfer, but also to your, go grab this tech.
Right, because this wave is coming. It's not that far from now that our healthcare is back. Some of us might have biosensors on that can tell us blood sugar's too high, do this. So medical delivery, education, a lot of things are going to be different. But when you say come to the table, community groups, people that are representing at the table, it's like, what would you think you should ask for right now?
That's a live conversation. Vice President. And what we talked about was that was they followed up with very and these are this is what so those
The last question for you in your life, you're a person where you get to see some of the, get to see things that are were you thinking about your next few years ahead? What about AI makes you most excited?
no, I have a story, and I will tell you that if you see this, now it's technology. I think it's it's going to change our music forever. All we need to do is so there is that's why we're to
Well, I feel blessed that I've gotten to know the president personally. Kamala Harris, my vice president, sister, Senate. The fact that they put you in charge of this is a positive gratitude to the Congressional. Guys, give it a round of applause. All right, everybody. We got our next panel. The next panel, start making your way as I give you guys introductions. I was told the next panel, come on up first, sit down. I'll talk about you as you come on up. Thank you very much for being bold. For coming up here. Okay, I was told that there are some other Congress people here. Is that true? Jamal is here. Everybody give it up for Jamal Bowman from New York. One extraordinary guys I've met down here, and his background of service is great. The fact that you are here, Congressman, means a lot to me. Thank you very much, sir, representing that state that sits in the shadow of New Jersey. They really only have one football team to build. The Jets, the Giants belong to us. Some people might be happy about that in New York. Yeah, please take them. I'm really excited about our next panel, and I just want to introduce our incredible panelists, really, so we can get into it and have a discussion here. You've already heard her mentioned. She's a really beloved person in the Senate and beyond. Is the chair of the EEOC, Charlotte Burroughs. She is the EEOC, for those who don't know, we throw around acronyms around here way too much. Is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. But why we love her is because she's had a life dedicated to service. Before this, she was the Associate Deputy Attorney General at the U.S. Department of Justice. She was a General Counsel for Civil and Constitutional Rights to Senator Ted Kennedy, a great beloved senator. Chair Burroughs has been doing excellent work on issues related to technology and civil rights. And we'll be sure, we're going to talk a lot about the way she is leading in the Biden administration now on AI and fairness. And we're just thanking you guys. Give her a round of applause, please. All right, another guy like me who has some science background. But I want to go to Ashley Lawrence, who is Vice President and Distinguished Scientist and Managing Director at Microsoft Research. Ashley previously served as a senior leader at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, where he directed research and development in AI, robotics, and neuroscience. He is a bad brother. He has served on the AI advisory boards at the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, the National Academy of the Sciences. He is currently serving on the National AI Advisory Committee, which advises the President and the White House on AI and its impacts on society. I knew all this when our staff was trying to recruit him to be on this panel, but then I was kind of blown away when I also learned that he is a talented hip-hop artist. You all don't know about my previous career. My stage name was C. Boogie. I decided to give up that fame and fortune to serve the people. But Ashley, you actually a hip-hop artist. As songs you know, movies I've seen. You are a member of the Recording Academy, the institution that organizes the Grammys. You're an extraordinarily talented guy and a father, and we just give him a round of applause, please. Finally, a full brother. Thanks for being here. Everybody, Sanmi Koyajo is an assistant professor of computer science at Stanford University. I may have some biases there. Yes, staffed up with Stanford people here. Thank you very much. He also serves as the president of Black in AI, which supports and lifts up the works of Black researchers in the discipline. Sanmi previously taught at the University of Illinois, and he is widely cited academic. And he has really an interesting new paper out that I found fascinating. It's just beginning to question, I would say, some of the histrionics, fears out there, but really questioning are AI models indeed as powerful as some suggest, that this could be how and suddenly taking over the world. So I look forward to hearing a little bit about that and more. Now, I want to start this question to you all, and we'll go from the audience left to the right. Let's just start with the same question. What is something that keeps you up at night? What are the things that you're really concerned with? And then what are the things that excite you? That you believe this is really a revolution, and the revolution will be televised. I'm sorry, digitized. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Can you all hear me? Excellent. Thank you so much for your leadership on this. So grateful to you. This is an enormously important issue. So what makes me worried and what makes me hopeful? I'm going to start where you started, which is we have a history here that's very important. We just celebrated the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, which created our agency. There was a demand, a clear clarion call for the jobs, called the March for Jobs and Freedom. We were the jobs part. And every one of the statutes that we enforced was passed with broad bipartisan majorities in both chambers of Congress. Now we had to get over a filibuster, we had to get over veto threats, but each one of those statutes is profoundly democratic. What I am worried is that, not by design, but de facto, this AI issue has the potential of eroding those civil rights protections in a way that is not even, that was democratically passed civil rights protections in a way that people aren't even aware of, because the information about AI is so esoteric, so closely held. And what I mean by eroding those protections, we are seeing in some instances, and I do not want to put a broad box around all artificial intelligence machines, because that is, they are so varied. But in the workplace context, we are seeing issues where the training data that is used to create an automated system will be trained on information that shows that is not diverse. And so you have the result that you were recreating that lack of diversity. So that it turns out if you are a white male whose name is Jared, like across, you're going to be likely to get the job. And if you're not, you aren't. So that's one example. We can talk more.
And I've heard you say this publicly. I didn't know this. Stunned me when I first say it. Is that over 80% of companies now that are sifting through resumes use AI to do it, and about 100% of Fortune 500 companies. Is that right?
99% of Fortune 500. That's it. So very close. But I want to be clear. There's a couple things going on. So that's in sorting through hiring. That is true. Not all of them have these kinds of problems. They're very diverse kinds of issues, but it's important to be aware of that, and it's proliferating. So most of the action is area. Smaller companies are using it less, but pretty much everybody is moving towards this for sorting. Unfortunately, generative AI, which is something we can talk about where they're really making up content, is by and large not being used in search, but it is being used for sorting. The hopeful part is folks like you all are paying attention, and we have a lot of partners in the federal government that we're working with to help protect other areas of civil rights. That's, I'd love to drill down more on that.
That is hopeful. That we have the power to shape the revolution.
Yes, but it is definitely, as you said, if you're not at the table, maybe you, and I would quote Shirley Chisholm, there's not a seat at the table, you got to bring us forward. And I think that's what we need.
Actually, I want you to answer the same question, but you can give her a applause. Come on. This is a Congressional Black Caucus, folks. This is not like a formal, White House hearing. You guys can act like yourselves. Actually, I want you to answer the same question, but I just am blown away. I almost when I told him recently I listened to a podcast. I didn't know a lot about his background. He and I both were incredible recording artists. But what touched me even more, made me wish I could shatter you with a billion pieces and have a billion children have things to meant for, was how you grew up. And your parents, you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You talked a bit about your childhood and Black guy finding his way to the sciences. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Well, first.
Yes. That was your question.
That is 100% my question. I just want to reiterate the fact that you don't see enough people in the science. There are lots of, anybody who watches a movie like this knows that every step of the way we're extraordinary Americans in these fields. But your story of how you got to where you are today is what I do. It inspire a lot of other young people. But give me, from your perspective, from the south side of Chicago till now, what makes you hopeful about AI?
Yeah, maybe I want to do. I want to do two things. Convey a sense of excitement about that, and then to convey a sense of responsibility of feel as fair. First, this this unprecedented moment, seeing the act of AI. Historically, you level program once passed. When you use Microsoft program, you work hard to make these programs. What we see with generative AI is essentially AI that you program yourself.
And just what are the fine terms? What is generative AI?
Okay, sure. So sometimes we talk about AI. So this is essentially the AI that's trained massive kind of diversities, and you can interact with them and use them for generate information, text, images. So this is what we need. So that's incredible. And when Chat it reached a million users and it's an unprecedented process. The idea that somebody creates technology, I think, and you can do it the way I did not do it. Kind of ways. That's the sense of it. But now, if I can give this technology, we can do it in ways that haven't reached, making it safe during prevent, creating tech, and so what we're seeing is innovation outside in enthusiasm and anticipation. So that's the and I'll also say, we saw what I said, 1 billion users and maybe now it's but there's hundreds of billions of people. How do we technology is accessible and useful for everybody? So that's the other thing. Everyone that's working should be up at night and that's work that we have to do to make sure that this is
Tommy, you have this extraordinary background as well, and I did this very quickly. You have somebody representing another group, but you are in the world of academia and have a really close eye on a lot of pipeline of person up to the science of this work, all the way to understanding what the possibilities in front of you. So I want to not only ask you the same question, what are you excited about and what are you concerned about, but I would like you to add a little bit to that with this that, hey, I'm focusing on African Americans who should be in this. And so what are you hopeful about also for the role of this 15% of the country that is black?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. A lot of what you already discussed resonates. I think I'll start off with what people think they're actually the same thing. As everyone has discussed, guys, us, society, individual. I think there's a world where this can have positive, accelerate their work, helps have positive economic impact. There's a world where this is.
No, but let's stop there. Where it has a positive impact. Give me a specific example of something that, wow.
Sure. So in my work, for instance, we looked a lot at AI. We've shown lots of great opportunities for AI accelerated diagnosis, which impacts millions, both in quality of life and
One of the biggest killers in the Black community is undetected disease that gets to the point where it's so extreme that by the time you realize something wrong, it becomes a very bad guy.
so there's opportunity for building AI that correctly addresses issues. We talked a little about communication, and so
Well, what does that look like? So if I'm in Southside Chicago, what about the education?
yeah. So what's exciting is really the personalization. So the fact that you can engage with technology and come up with ways to interact with you that matches how you like to learn material. This I think increases the potential of AI to have real impacts in reducing gaps in.
Right, because the old format is a teacher standing for a classroom of 30 kids, teaching in one kind of manner. You might be somebody that's visual in your learning, auditory, and you can have a machine that's learning what you do a little jump quicker. Okay, now I'm learning that, and you start giving you the material in a certain way. And before you know it, the whole classroom has got a different approach now because they know every single person there has a tutor that helps them.
Yeah, so these are some of the really exciting the impacts it can have. The other side of this is again, we don't think carefully about how we build it or what deployment looks like. And in some of this, well, AI is having a PR moment. It's been around a very long time. And it's almost definitely been interacted as something for many, many years. I think some of the generative technologies that we came up to look at. And I think some of the potential hazards are to forget that in the end, a lot of this technology depends on people. So it feels like a machine. It feels abstract in this way that it can. But actually, all the decisions about what they build, all the data that goes into it, all the ways that the choices about how models are deployed, what kind of tools you build, what decision making gets deployed with these kinds of models, all depends on individuals. And so we'll talk about this a little bit more, hopefully, but I think most important bit I think I'd like to send out is we should engage with this. It matters that we're in the conversation. It matters we're in the room where the content is being built. It matters where decisions are being made. This is what Black AI is. Our job is to empower the Black community to be part of the conversation, building, as you said.
Are you worried about? I have some views about this. This might be dominated by a handful of companies, and that's not democratic in terms of a lot of folks in this room, and maybe some folks in feel some kind of way that, wait a minute, I've allowed Facebook to scrape all of my data, all of my information. Now they're selling that data to advertisers, and I'm seeing things. Somebody in a wealthier town next to me seeing different things because they're using my zip code and a lot of other things to make determinations. And so there's a lot of skepticism as we through about what we're shaping this. Academia, you guys have the resources to build these large language models and try to be on the frontiers to keep up with corporations that billions of dollars in debt.
It is, and that's a great point. I think building the largest of these models takes millions of dollars. So they're quite expensive. And so this creates a gap that between what academia can do and let me speak briefly to the earlier point about who gets to build technology. What has been most exciting, or maybe some of what we could imagine OpenAI has taught us, is that there's space for small players to engage in the space and disrupt what it means. And I want to take it back to, again, what Black AI is trying to do. Making sure that we're part of this conversation, we're part of building this space. Because I think there's a huge economic opportunity, but also a huge shaping our future, and being part of who builds it. Some of this might look like being part of the research and builders in large companies, but I think a lot of this looks like building companies and actually being engaged in these other innovations, building new tools that take very seriously lots of different community and different applications. Being careful about the data that's being, that again, there's often potential exploitation, meaningfully engaged, how to secure data, and what this means in technology. So the opportunity, I think, all across Black men, and well, personally, but also Black men broadly. Our work is thinking about how to make it.
Actually, your focus is so powerful. But the concern that said the other perspective, maybe first of all, maybe one thing that was reinforced the role of a company like Microsoft developed other so foundation of here. To your point, maybe in the research space, my part of Microsoft, the part of Microsoft research, next research Microsoft. So we actually just launched a program called where we're actually offering grants. So programs like that supports this so people can use the tools. One of the things I'm excited to take that up is the national proposal for a national research, right? Where you can actually make, access to compute, which is just fundamental everything available research, but also to facilitate that part. And that this depends on how to do it. But to facilitate like particle physics, that CERN come together and decide various things.
So this is he's really making an reference in the bill that I have, along with people creating there and massive investments to try to democratize this technology and really work with it. I just want to switch back to the chair, Boros, here for a second, because you use very strong language. So this is a massive civil rights issue. And you organize not just the EOC, but organize other government agencies come together and really start trying to govern this space. Can you give sort of just a picture of why you reached out to everybody, DOJ, other agencies, try to pull everybody together to really lead it, not something that's coming, that's already here.
Absolutely, and very excited to be here with both of you. One thing that I would say about this is, from the civil rights perspective, one reason we wanted to launch the civil rights, the AI initiative at companies like the EOC is to make sure that we can stay as nimble as possible. As employment becomes more and more automated, moves into AI, we can't stay stuck in 1905, even though that's when we started. We gotta be on the cutting edge with everything else. And so we also wanted to make sure that we were cooperating in the right so one of the things that we did was join with the Department of Justice, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which does the sort of lending protections, lending discrimination to justice, which covers a host of the civil rights issues, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, which works on antitrust issues. Because one of the things that had started to happen was, because this is such a new and exciting area, and it is new and it is exciting, people started to think that the current laws did not apply. And so we wanted to be very clear collectively and individually, yes, we do. So even as we're having this conversation about innovation can't come at the price of civil rights. And we wanted to send that message very clearly together. One of the things that I think is really important that came up in the conversation earlier is, as these systems are developed, their decisions going on behind that about what is relevant, what is the training act to be. And one of the things that's really sort of salient for us is that African Americans and other people of color are overrepresented in what I would call, and what some of the folks at the ACLU Racial Justice Project have pointed out, are bad data sets. So data sets that would get you excluded from things, like overrepresentation in arrest convictions, even racial profiling, and a whole lot of other reasons. Even when they're mistaken, right, those databases still exist. Even when you are acquitted and it turns out there was no crime that you had still in the database often, right? So those databases will get excluded from things. And if employers or lenders are using them, you're going to have a problem. The other bad databases, things like evictions, things that represent the fact that there's data out there on your credit history because you do not have been given a fair shake. Financial, opportunities, we know about that at the EOC as other. That's one side. We are also underrepresented. Good data sets that get you the job, data sets that get people to reach out to you and affirmatively give you an improvement. So there are people who are companies, it's very efficient, who decide they want a particular kind of qualification, nothing wrong with qualification, but sometimes the information, the algorithm you're looking at to decide who to send that, hey, do you want to apply a job out to, includes things that overlap with race and things that are not permissible. And so we knew that we had to get on our hustle because a lot of times this is okay, right? People don't know. They just know they didn't. And certainly we didn't get the offer to apply the job. So we really understood that we have to work with this one. And because for the most part, the folks who are dealing with CBC, they're just excited about the cool things and not thinking about the paranoid way sometimes. Right? So we want to partner up and just get some tips out on Title VII, the race discrimination statute, the regional statute, as well as sex, religion, just tell people, hey, here's some guardrails as you do this. We put out a document on the disability statute and to say, here are some guardrails, how to do it, works differently, how to do it. Right? If they're applying the virtual door, if you will. And so those are the things academia and the business to just sort of their eyes on the project.
I want you all to know how valuable a warrior for justice is in our world, CBC. They're very proactive, engaging the private sector. And you create or buy this AI model, whatever it is, you are still accountable if it's discriminatory, even if you don't really realize how this model is working, right?
Absolutely, and we have already, started to. Our preference is to work on compliance and to work cooperatively, but we absolutely are bringing lawsuits where we have to. We just settled one. It's sort of an odd case, I think, unusual, but just it was a intentional discrimination. Most of this is for things that are called so unintended, less discriminatory. This one was, they programmed automatic recruitment program to exclude your resume if you were over 55, right? Or so it's an age case, not a race. I know, I see it, but it's a real case. You just settled it. Why it had to go to federal court? If you were a woman over 55, it excluded it. A man over 60. We can talk about that later. Very interesting. Most of the time, this is not something that but it does happen. And so I get it. It's not you all. It's very interesting.
But in all seriousness, she's a champion. She probably has somebody to go after this. Stop her to talk to your concerns or issues because they are doing an extraordinary job. But I want to go to actually. You are actually this multidisciplinary person. You work for Microsoft. Now you have partnerships with government, DoD. When you're working with government, what's your objective there? What are you trying to see? You talk about, I don't care if it's national security or expansion of what is your sort of engagement or Microsoft?
enforcement, you know, is as you lose that sense of responsibility, part of pursuing the benefits, assessing the risk, working to mitigate. I, I work here. I work here. Commercial side. Confident to say part of that. But the reality is, when I use, I really encourage my kids that when my son is using that, I expect not to create this concept. Right. But if a filmmaker is using ChatGPT to write a movie, wow, I would be really boring if every movie that came out, none of it. So you know, capabilities and safety are very now, what the norms are, you know, what the value system even are, these are right? We aren't just we are different. But what the norms are, part of that's going to come down. What are these? What is the what do we try to do? These are so I think government has a really important role. First of all, process organization.
What is this?
This right? That is the whole standard right? And say by use of biometrics, what the norms are there.
And I just said something that was very provocative. So you're at a time that people, I don't want my kids to have social media devices, things that are causing anxiety, that are causing body self-esteem, that might not be more people view images. But you were like, I want my kids to start playing with ChatGPT, Dolly, why? Because there's some parents out here, I think, we'll have some children out here that want to look at you and say, why are you pushing this on your kids?
I mean, get a little uncomfortable in here. Go ahead. Can you imagine now sending your child out into the world to join the workforce and not know how to use computer? Wow. Right? Or not know how to use information technology, productivity. My son has one of the things and at school got started. So he used ChatGPT. And he actually commented, you know, I have a plan to introduce myself. It's a very good first draft. He spent about 5 minutes editing. I made sure that the letters if we use it as a tool. So I think this is really the future problem.
Professor, we're looking at a world now where the skills of the next 10 years, you're going to look for people that are fluent in the technologies of today. Not necessarily your age, but if I hire 2 people that are about producing letters, say, or whatever, one person gets these letters done a lot quicker, understands that this is a draft, versus somebody who's trying to do all this stuff from scratch. Or programmers who are not used to understanding how to use this, or artists. All the professions you're seeing in the future need people that are conversant, comfortable with this technology. Is that right?
That's correct. And maybe a very brief shout out to Stanford HAI, which is one of the.
What is HAI?
So HAI is human-centered AI. I think one bit to mention.
Human-centered AI.
Yes, is the human-centered. So it's important as we build the AI technologies to think about not as replacing, but as augmenting our. So what some of what this organization, this group in Stanford is to think through how to make sure we're building AI technologies. This is the perspective that we're working on a white paper that can be shared with this how this impacts Black people.
So go to the one thing I didn't give you with to explain this recent paper that you wrote that is all about the scary stuff of the future is really it's going to be more Star Trek than 2001. Can you just explain why you're not as afraid of AI taking over the world?
I can speak to this briefly. So there's a phenomenon in the language models called emergence. This comes tied to concerns about security. It's the idea that the generative models suddenly pick up skills in unpredictable ways, suddenly get better at different things. As they get bigger, data. And so both in the media, people saying, but also in the scientific area, lots of work suggesting this. We did a careful analysis of a lot of the claims of this emergence idea. So we called it a mirage. So roughly, we just said most of these are not true. In fact, you can predictably show many of them when and how they'll get better. So if you're concerned about safety, which I think the important bit here is that models get better in predictable ways. It's extremely unlikely that we'll have the Terminator story. Like none of the evidence is this way. You predict when they'll get better, what again, the way that we develop and train is.
Okay, so we have to get out of this next panel is going to be leading with hip hop with Ashley. Before we go, so I want to give everybody just one chance. Again, there are leaders from all around the country right now. Here in this, grassroots leaders, entrepreneurs, business people, political leaders that are all here in this room, not because the Paul Head Center is hosting this, but because they're very concerned with the space. They're hearing the hype. The hype is big. Everybody's talking about AI. Transformative, even though the chair said it's been around for decades and affects our lives for decades. What is one piece of advice you want them to go away from this room thinking about? Like, hey, if you're a black person looking at the AI revolution happening, what's the one piece of advice you have as people get up to lead? Rose, we'll start with you and we'll go across.
Absolutely. So understand your rights with respect to these programs. We've got a lot of accessible information on our website. The thing I would say is if you or someone you know takes an assessment and they think they're well qualified and they don't get the job, one, did you take a game, something that looks like a video game? Maybe an AI exclusion. It may be that you took something that's got a media projection in a weird time of night, right? That was not a person sitting there at 1:05 a.m. looking at it. If you think that you may have been discriminated against, you want to know about it, keep in your head those kinds of things, and definitely if you needed an accommodation and you couldn't get to a person to ask for it and you got denied or you just never got an answer back quickly enough, that is probably something we want to be talking to you about.
All right. Ashley, give me one thing to have people lead with.
There's a lot of important to mitigate. The thing I want to leave is all we do is succeed. The thing I think we got is to figure out how what and participate in the development of the education, and then frankly the wealth creation that we see. So if there's anything I want to work together with you.
Maybe I'll just mention, in this room, probably I'm speaking to the audience fire a little bit, but don't sit this one out. I think there's meaningful change happening. AI is going to have an impact. We should be part of this conversation. The people who build this technology are still a very narrow slice of many of us in this room. Many of us are not at the table and don't get to have a direct say how they impact people. So we should engage. We're working on representation within those building technology, but also broadly as a community. I think engage with government, engage with policy. We should be part of this conversation.
So I want you to leave with this understanding about African Americans and entrepreneurialism. You all know this about our common history. We are a nation of people within a nation of people. This is an extraordinary group of folks represented here, that if you know our roots in this country, we were often given the worst and we made it the best.
Yes.
Black culinary arts were so innovative to bring the worst food that was given to make some of the best tasting food that now people are thriving in restaurants. Think about the whole music culture and how Black culture taking music and music innovations shaped every other type of music that's really innovative. That is the history of the Black community, entrepreneurial. Give my grandmother $1, she could feed the whole block because she was so creative. She made a way out of no way, like our history is. So let me take you to one of the great technological innovators. He was an early adapter in this city. He was this guy that knew that we had to embrace technology, because if not, the common call of this country was going to be say that we are lesser than, we are not adequate, we are not intelligent. And so he found this technology and became known in the 19th century as the greatest user or subject of this technology of anyone. He is the most photographed American of the 19th century. His name was Frederick Douglass. He saw this technology and knew that by showing up, and you all see these daguerreotypes of Frederick Douglass, always like the 3-point suit. The brother had too much hair, but it was beautiful. Beautiful. What he was trying to say, that I'm going to take this modern technology that's transforming the world and show what Black people are about. I'm going to show how dignified we are. I'm going to show our humanity. I'm going to use the image to transform ideas of justice and equality. We have seen African Americans use technology to transform themselves as well as society. That's where we are. And I'm happy, I'm getting off the stage because I'm not worthy, that we have 3 people on this stage that are all people that are not sitting back and waiting. They know they need to enter the struggle. Because if there's no struggle, there's no progress. They are showing through their examples as Black people in America that whether it's government, whether it's the private sector, whether it's academia, we need to be at the table like Frederick Douglass and using this technology as a further part of the liberation movement, not a liberation of Black people, because Black people know if Black people are liberated, everyone is liberated. If we are free, everyone is free. And so I love what everyone said in closing, but I'm going to reiterate what Brother Ashley said, which is get engaged. Don't let a revolution happen and just be one of these people and say, what's happening? No. You want to be somebody that's saying, these technologies, the least I can do, download them on my phone, understand them. And you as an entrepreneur, I've traveled this country and seen entrepreneurs in the ending community violence space, entrepreneurs in dealing with drug addiction space, entrepreneurs in how do you get more faith-based activities when it comes to connecting people to jobs. We are all from that entrepreneurial spirit. Find out more about this technology. Be engaged. Be involved. Yes, it's about protecting against algorithmic discrimination. Yes, it's about protecting ourselves against some of the ills of our society. But most importantly, it's about expanding opportunity. It's about expanding freedoms. It's about expanding justice. That's what we have to be. We're all foot soldiers in this next human revolution or evolution of making sure technology is not making us more victims, but more victims. Thank you. Round of applause for our panel, please. Give it up. Give it up. Incredible.